In the depths of the unknown, where shadows whisper and fear takes form, welcome to Classic Storytime Hub, the place where classic horror and mystery come alive. Tonight, I bring you a reimagined version of Dagon by H.P. Lovecraft, retold with a suspenseful narrative style that grips the soul and breathes new life into this haunting tale. Make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss a journey into the shadows.
I write these final words under a weight no sane mind should bear. By nightfall I will be gone. The last of my morphine has vanished, and with it the only veil between me and the horror clawing at my soul. I can no longer endure the torment. Soon I shall hurl myself from this attic window into the filth-stained street below. But do not mistake my addiction for weakness. I was not born a coward, nor shaped by vice. Only when you've read these frantic, trembling lines might you begin to grasp, though never truly comprehend, why oblivion or death are my only escape. It began in the forgotten reaches of the Pacific, where the sea stretches wide and empty. I was the supercargo aboard a merchant.
I write these final words under a weight no sane mind should bear. By nightfall I will be gone. The last of my morphine has vanished, and with it the only veil between me and the horror clawing at my soul. I can no longer endure the torment. Soon I shall hurl myself from this attic window into the filth-stained street below. But do not mistake my addiction for weakness. I was not born a coward, nor shaped by vice. Only when you've read these frantic, trembling lines might you begin to grasp, though never truly comprehend, why oblivion or death are my only escape. It began in the forgotten reaches of the Pacific, where the sea stretches wide and empty. I was the supercargo aboard a merchant vessel, a speck in the vastness, when the German raider struck. The war had just begun, and our capture was deemed fair. We were treated with civility, as prisoners of war. So lenient were our captors that 5 days in, I slipped away, alone, in a lifeboat stocked with water and rations. Adrift and free, I had no bearings. I was no navigator. I could only guess by the sun and stars that I floated somewhere south of the equator. No land, no ships, just the endless blue heaving beneath the merciless sun. Days blurred, hope withered. I drifted, waiting for salvation or surrender. Then came the change. It happened while I slept. I remember no storm, no crash, only dreams, fevered, grotesque. When I awoke, I was half submerged in a vast black mire. A landscape of slime and shadow stretched endlessly around me, pulsing with unnatural stillness. My boat lay stranded, yards away, swallowed by the muck. And so began my descent into the unspeakable.
One might expect awe, some primal wonder at the sight of such a staggering transformation. But what I felt was not wonder. It was horror. Pure, unfiltered horror. The air itself was wrong, thick with rot. The ground beneath me oozed with decay. Dead fish littered the mire, their carcasses bloated and ruptured. And other things I dare not name, jutted from the black sludge, half submerged, half watching. The silence was unbearable. Not peaceful, but oppressive. A silence so complete it screamed. No wind, no birds, no waves, just an endless plain of glistening filth, stretching into a horizon that refused to end. Above me, the sun blazed from a sky so dark it felt cruel, a cloudless void mirroring the ink-black marsh below. I crawled back into my stranded boat, seeking shade and sanity. Only one explanation clawed its way into my mind. Some cataclysmic upheaval had torn the ocean floor upward, revealing a realm untouched for millions of years, a place never meant to be seen. So vast was this risen land, I could hear no ocean, no surf, only the suffocating stillness. I sat for hours, brooding in the tilted boat, watching the sun drag itself across the sky. As the day wore on, the muck began to dry, cracking into a crust that might bear my weight. That night, sleep eluded me. My dreams were jagged, twitching things. By morning, I packed what little food and water I had and set out. Toward what? I did not know. Rescue, reason, or madness. The third day brought firmer ground. The stench of rotting fish clawed at my senses, but I pressed on, my eyes fixed on a distant rise, a lone hummock breaking the monotony of the plain. It became my beacon. I marched toward it, hour after hour, yet it never seemed closer. That night I camped beneath the sky that watched me without blinking. By the fourth evening I reached its base. The mound was far taller than it had appeared from afar, its height exaggerated by a valley that carved it from the surrounding wasteland. I was too exhausted to climb, so I lay in its shadow, the earth cold beneath me, and waited for whatever came next.
I cannot explain why my dreams turned so savage that night. But before the gibbous moon had clawed its way above the eastern horizon, I awoke, drenched in cold sweat, heart hammering, mind fraying. I swore I would not sleep again. Whatever visions had plagued me, they were not dreams. They were warnings. Bathed in moonlight, I realized my mistake. Traveling by day had drained me. The sun had punished every step. But now, under this pale and spectral glow, I felt renewed, almost possessed. I gathered my pack and began the climb toward the summit. The plain behind me had been a nightmare of sameness, but what awaited beyond was worse. As I reached the crest, I looked down, and the world ended. A canyon, no, a chasm. A wound in the earth so deep, so black, the moonlight dared not touch it. I stood at the edge of existence, staring into a chaos older than time. My thoughts twisted, echoing Milton's verses, Satan's descent through realms unformed, through darkness that had never known light. Yet as the moon rose higher, the valley revealed its secrets. The walls weren't sheer. Ledges jutted out like broken teeth, offering a path downward. Compelled by something I couldn't name, I began my descent, scraping, stumbling, clawing my way into the abyss. And then I saw it. Across the slope, bathed in moonlight, stood a colossal shape, pale, monolithic, alien. At first I thought it stone, just a boulder, but no. Its lines were too deliberate, its placement too precise. Nature had not birthed this thing. I crept closer, heart thudding like war drums. The monolith towered above me, carved with purpose, shaped by hands that once thought, once worshipped. It had stood here, buried beneath the sea, since the world was young. And now it watched me.
Stunned, shaken, yet tingling with the thrill of discovery, I stood frozen, half terrified, half entranced. The moon had climbed high now, casting a ghostly glow over the jagged cliffs that enclosed the chasm.
And there, at the bottom, a winding body of water shimmered like liquid obsidian, snaking out of sight in both directions. Its wavelets lapped gently at my feet. Across the dark channel, the cyclopean monolith loomed, its base kissed by the water, its surface now fully revealed. Strange markings etched into the stone caught the moonlight, inscriptions and carvings, crude yet deliberate. The writing was unlike anything I'd ever seen. Not Egyptian, not Sumerian. It was a language of the deep. Hieroglyphs shaped like fish, eels, octopi, crustaceans, and creatures no living man has named. Some symbols mirrored the rotting forms I'd seen scattered across the ocean-risen plain. Others defied classification. But it was the carvings, the pictorial reliefs that truly seized me. Massive, monstrous, they stretched across the stone like a fevered dream. I could see them clearly, even from across the water. Figures, humanoid, yet grotesque, frolicked in underwater caverns or knelt in reverence before a submerged shrine. Their forms were twisted, webbed hands and feet, bloated lips, eyes that bulged like glass orbs. They were wrong, horribly wrong, and yet unmistakably human in outline. One figure, etched with disturbing clarity, was shown slaying a whale, its size barely greater than the creature itself. The proportions were absurd, the implications worse. I tried to rationalize. Perhaps these were gods, imaginary deities of some forgotten tribe of fishermen, the people lost to time, erased before the first Neanderthal ever walked the earth. But the carvings felt too real, too reverent, too ancient. I stood there, breath shallow, mind spinning, as the moon cast warped reflections across the silent water. I had glimpsed something older than history, something that should never have surfaced. And I was not alone.
Then I saw it. No roar, no splash, just a subtle churning of the water, and the thing rose. It slid upward from the depths like a nightmare given flesh. Vast, vile, cyclopean. Its form defied reason, a monstrous echo of ancient terror. It surged toward the monolith, wrapped its colossal, scaled limbs around the stone, and bowed its grotesque head. Then came the sound, low, rhythmic, deliberate. A chant? A prayer? I do not know. I think I went mad. I remember little of my escape. I scrambled up the slope, laughing when I couldn't scream, singing when I couldn't breathe. The storm came soon after, thunder that split the sky, winds that howled like the damned. And then darkness. When I awoke, I was in a hospital in San Francisco. An American ship had found my drifting boat. I had raved in delirium, but no one listened, no one believed. They knew nothing of any upheaval in the Pacific. I didn't press the matter. What could I say? I once sought out an ethnologist, asking about the ancient Philistine god, Dagon, the fish god. He humored me, then dismissed me. I saw in his eyes the limits of his imagination. I asked no more. But the visions remain, especially at night, especially when the moon is gibbous and waning. That's when I see it, rising again from the black waters. I tried morphine. It dulled the terror for a time. Now it owns me. So I write this, my confession, my warning, my final breath. Perhaps you'll laugh, perhaps you'll scoff, but I ask myself again and again, was it all a fever dream, a sun-struck hallucination in that drifting boat? And always the answer comes, not in words,
but in vision, a vision too vivid to deny. I cannot think of the ocean without trembling. What horrors lie beneath, slithering across the slimy abyss, worshipping their ancient idols, carving their monstrous likenesses into drowned stone. I dream of a day when they rise, when the sea vomits forth its children to drag down our war-weary world into chaos. The end is near. There's a sound at the door, something heavy, wet, slithering. It must not find me. God, that hand! The window! The window!
And thus the story ended. If you liked this journey into the worlds of classic literature, do not forget to support us by subscribing so we can tell you more. And hey, if there's a classic tale you'd love to hear told in this suspenseful style, drop its name in the comments below. Your suggestion might be our next chilling adventure.